look at the whole thing from a very sympathetic point of view. We have promised that we are going to look at them case by case.
It's good that you mentioned historical information, and we would like to sort of like dig in a little bit, even if it's just for a few minutes, about the history of ECN and NEPA and PHCN and how we got to where we are today. But just a very quick answer to this. What will we be calling our power companies now if we are not going to call it PHCN?
Well, I think
because it looks like we're not dealing with NEPA anymore.
Monolistic name for them.
Okay.
Each of the distribution companies will go by their utility name, the name of the company that bought them, and the generating companies will also do likewise. That's the way it is all over the world. Nobody gives one name, one big name to all of this. But remember that what, like you asked, what got us to where we are? Years of neglect, gross neglect of the system. The generating facilities, the transmission facilities, the distribution facilities were neglected. And then, remember that for the past 17 years, there was no capacity building at all. No capacity building. No engineers were hired, no technical people were hired in the so-called power holding company of Nigeria that in metamorphosed from NEPA. So 17 years, no capacity building. What do you expect of these people? They are aging. Some of the technicians we have can no longer climb trees. That's why you tell the man to go and take care of one problem here. He said, he can't climb the pole. I'm old. Look at me. How can I do that? So this is it was like a systematic neglect of the entire system. But thanks be to God that when the civilian administration came in 1999, they started looking into this. But much more has happened since President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan took over from 2010. Things have been so structured, things are moving fast, and instead of just walking or running, we are leapfrogging to get to the ultimate destination.
Prof, regarding their name, I was giggling all the time you were talking because I think the name NEPA will stick forever. Power goes in an aircraft, everybody screams NEPA.
That's true.
And my cousins who came to Nigeria from America for the first time in their lives got used to the name NEPA. So when they have an ice storm or a snowstorm in America, there's no power. They're all screaming NEPA. So I'm serious, but that name has come to stay. Whoever is distributing or generating, it will be NEPA for the Nigerian forever. Now, we had some union people last week who said that until every last man was paid, they were going to cause disruptions in the taking over. And like I was telling Kayode at the beginning of the program, we could not transact any business with Ikeja in the course of the week because there were soldiers everywhere, the doors were all locked, there were staff hanging around everywhere, and they were still saying that they had not been settled.
Well, that is really unfortunate. What some of the unionists expected was a 100% compliance on the part of the federal government. Logically speaking, that is impossible. There is no way you can capture 100% biometric data without any fault. It's not possible. Second, there is no way you can clear 100% of the people without any problem. Third, there is no way 45,000 people will fill out a form without any of them making mistakes. It's not possible. Fourth, there is no way they will even fill out all these forms correctly. Some of them will make one-digit error in their bank account statements, and that nullifies the entire thing. So for anybody to think that before a handover can occur, 100% fulfillment of all the governmental obligations is not possible, because those on the receiving end have no capacity to even come to close to that 100%. But very thankfully, we struck an agreement. All the people that have been biometrically captured and those who have been fully cleared have been settled. The remaining, we are still taking them, and we hope that by the 15th of November to the 30th of November, most of all these things would have been cleared.
Yes, just before you came, we had a representative of one of the Gencos in here, and we were discussing with him the fears of the PHCN staff, one of which was they were all going to be fired, and the company taking over was going to hire his own staff. But we were pleased to hear that for now, in the Genco that they bought, all the staff are still there working, which means that they have employed all the PHCN staff working in that plant. So all that fear about them being jobless is really not founded. Now, as minister, is there any assurance that the other Gencos and the Discos are going to take over some of the staff?
Oh, most certainly. I mean, it's so easy to say this. Whether you are looking at it from an economic perspective, a technical or engineering perspective, or a customer perspective, do you just hire new people and take over a totally new plant or a distribution company that people know nobody and so on? It just doesn't work. So what these people are going to do is they will retain a substantial number of those who are already working there. But of course, I'm sure you know, there are redundancies. Whenever the government employs people, they will employ because of geographic spread. They will employ because we are related. They will employ because somebody has written a letter from Abuja or from somewhere. So at the end of the day, there are redundant workers. There are some of those redundant workers that will be eased off because it doesn't make any economic sense to continue to carry them along. But the core staff will be retained by these Gencos and these.
So when the likes of Amperion says, Amperion that's just left Akinfenwa was saying that one of the biggest challenge is that of getting enough gas to enable them generate more power. What is the federal government and your ministry going to do to help them ensure that they're able to run at full capacity?
Well, very thankfully, President Goodluck Jonathan's administration has been very seriously meticulous in trying to follow the gas master plan for the country. Right now, by the grace of God, it is quite conceivable that before all these plants, including the NIPP Gencos, come on board, there will be enough gas for them. A lot of work is being done and a lot of pipes are being laid to ensure that these power plants have enough gas. But again, that also shows you why it is not wise for any country, Nigeria alone, to depend on only one source of fuel for power generation. And that is why the government of President Jonathan insists on a good and robust energy mix. There will be hydros, there will be coal generation, there will of course be thermal plants, there will be renewable energy. And all these things are being put on the table right now.
I want to believe that's part of the transformation agenda or part of the master plan for power. So that master plan is a roadmap or master plan? Do you have a roadmap?
We have a roadmap. Actually, President Jonathan launched the roadmap in August 2010. And the roadmap has a destination. The destination is uninterrupted power supply to all Nigerians.
What's the timeline for that?
Well, timeline is something you cannot properly define. The reason,
projected timeline, Honorable Minister.
Well, for most of those, for instance, now, we have thousands of communities that are not even connected to the grid. If they brought all the angels from heaven, they're not going to be able to physically lay the transmission lines to them. But for those who are already connected to the grid, we are hoping that by the grace of God, within the next year and a half, most of them will have very close to uninterrupted power supply. And within a year, many of the cities will have very close to uninterrupted power supply.
I am sorry to
At
go
what
back
price?
on this. I know that if I want to build a house, I might not have 20 million to build one in Ikoyi, but if I buy a piece of land there, I will say I'd like